and welcome to Good Enough Chats. My name's Dan Boucher. I'm the host and producer of the show. And before we jump into this episode, I want to give you a quick heads up about what the conversation covers. So for this chat, I'm joined by Barry King. Barry is based in Fort Worth in Texas. He's a lifelong artist. He's a husband, a grandfather, father, and a man who has lived with clinical depression for much of his adult life. He first sought help back in the late 80s after realising that something wasn't right, and over the years he's been through several periods of real struggle, including several hospitalisations. But in June 2016, his mental health reached its lowest point, and feeling exhausted and believing that those around him would be better off without him, Barry attempted to take his own life. He was found unconscious, he was taken to hospital, and he spent several days in a coma. And the doctors did not expect him to survive, but he did, and that was against all the odds. Amazingly, he woke up with no lasting physical damage, and he credits all of this to his faith in God for keeping him alive. It's the first time we've talked about faith on this podcast, and it's a really, really interesting discussion. Since that day, Barry has chosen to use his experience to help others. He is a passionate advocate for mental health awareness and suicide prevention. He works with the Jordan Elizabeth Harris Foundation and speaks openly about what he's been through. This is a tough conversation to listen to, but also the way that Barry talks about it is so helpful for other people. And although this is a difficult thing to hear, I really encourage you to pay attention to what Barry has to say, because there is so much here that other people can learn from. So without further ado, let's jump straight into it. Hi, Barry. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm really good, thank you. As you can tell by my attire right now, our climate conditions are a little different to yours right now, by the looks of things.
Yeah, it's a little still warm here in Texas, but you know, we hopefully the 90s will be leaving. I looked at the 14-day forecast and they said it's going to get down to the 70s where it should be in the 80s now, but yeah, so
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's a bit cold out here today. I've actually had to fire up my heater for the first time in about 6 months. So, it's turning. We're hitting autumn or fall, as you would say. But
do you get nice fall color?
oh, it's right now. It's beautiful. Yeah,
Yeah,
especially when the sun comes out as well. Yeah, it's beautiful.
yeah, we don't get fall color. It just goes from like green to brown, orange and reds and all that. So, and then we just have some trees that just don't turn. I mean, they just stay green and
Yeah. I tell
Texas.
you what I'll do for you, Barry. I will take a photo and I'll share it with you. I'll send it across to you so you can see what it looks like now before all of the leaves fall off the trees. And then it just becomes grey and bleak.
Yeah, I have a friend, Scott, that lived here, and he and his wife, she's from Maine, and they just moved to Maine. So a Texan in Maine in the wintertime, he has no idea what he's about to get into.
Yeah.
He's lived here his whole life, so, but he's excited. I mean, they got a nice house, and yeah, so.
Awesome. Awesome. Barry, before we jump into the questions,
Yes.
could I ask you to introduce yourself to our listeners, to our viewers? Could you tell them your full name, where in Texas you live, what you do to keep yourself busy, what your pastimes are, and also, could you tell us what is the one local delicacy that if we were with you right now, we would have to try because it was just unmissable?
All right, let's see. My name, Barry Gilbert King. Most people no one calls me by my middle name. That was my grandfather's name, but I'm honored to have it, but it's kind of a, goofy name, but I love it. Anyway, Barry King. I'm in Fort Worth, Texas. I have a wonderful wife And we have a son. We have two grandsons. We have a daughter-in-law. I don't like the word in-law because law had nothing to do with it. What else? How do I keep myself busy? I'm an artist.
Yeah.
Wanted to be an artist since the third grade. That's what I knew. I won a art contest that UNICEF put on. I did a painting of the football player Jim Brown, and I'm sure it looked like any other third grader's painting, but I won grand prize from all the kids in the world. And that was like my fuel to just become an artist. So that's what I wanted to be. I became an artist, was creative director and vice president of creative for a Fortune 500 company, Fortune 200 company, and directed commercials. But how do I keep myself busy here? I'm going to show you something. I'm an artist right now. Right now, I'm working on a portrait. A friend of mine is better half, and that's the portrait.
Oh, stunning.
Yeah. So
Absolutely
right now,
stunning.
yeah. So I'm working on that, and I used to draw sitting on the floor. I never had a studio, but I got too old to get up off the floor one time. But now I have a nice easel here on the island. And what else?
Well, I think you mention before we hit record, I think you mentioned that it's your birthday next week.
Yeah,
What, is that your 70th next week?
yep. Big 7-0, man. That's weird. That's weird. I mean, I remember 50 being weird because I was like, I only related 50 to my grandmother. And it's like 50. I mean, 70 is strange, but a couple of years ago, Leah said, you need to start working out and stay in shape. You got grandkids. And so I work out a couple of times a week. I got to work out today at noon and try to walk,
Yeah.
do a nice walk, 3.5 miles a couple of times a week. But other than that, I've just been blessed. So
Awesome.
happy to do this, really. I mean, it's funny. I told some guys in my Bible study, I'm like, man, I've been asked to do a podcast across the pond. They were really, I was like, yeah. So
Well,
it's
it's my pleasure to have you on here, and for the benefit of the listeners, the audience, I was introduced to Barry by a friend of uh, John, who is in the first episode of this season, who Barry has never met in person, but
oh,
John has told me he's heard a lot about Barry from the mutual friend Derek.
yeah.
So it's amazing how these kind of connections work, and I really appreciate that you are with us today on the podcast. And with that in mind, Barry, would you mind? And we'll come on to the journey that you've been on and the experiences that you've had. But could you tell us why it's important for you to be here right now to share your experiences of mental health?
Oh, why it's important. Uh, for me, it's just, trying to take the stigma out of depression and even suicide. I mean, once we get into my journey and story, people will understand, hopefully get why I'm so passionate about telling it. It's not about me. And, but the way I introduce my story is I tell people, you should have never met me because June 3rd, 2016, I tried to take my life. So I call myself a suicide attempt survivor. And, I'm just open about it. I mean, I'm here. I don't know what the audience's beliefs are, and I respect all beliefs or non-beliefs or whatever people believe or don't believe or whatever. What I know, as far as I'm concerned, um, I took, I was going through depression. It was just a day, and I don't know if you're ready to get into that kind of detail yet. but if not, we can hold off.
We can let's come to the detail of it later, but
Sure.
I think what you're kind of talking about your faith, which is a really important kind of aspect of your experience, and I was saying to you before recording that faith is not a topic that's come up in one of these chats so far. And I know it's something that you hold incredibly dear to you. Um,
Yeah, I think when people when they hear the detail of it, they'll go like, "Wow!" I mean, I mean, even people that have don't believe whatever. I've yet to have anybody to try to dispute why I'm still here.
yeah,
It's got to be. It's something bigger than us. Let's put it that way. That's
yeah.
so.
Thank you, Barry. And we'll absolutely we'll come to the kind of the detail of your experience very short.
Sure.
But before we do that, how has your last week been?
Good. 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 Um, real good. I mean, you know, my wife's she's a president of the hospital foundation, and so she's out in the working world and has a lot of things. So it's funny. I went to a breakfast and somebody was like, "Don't I know you?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm Mr. Leah King." And they, "Oh yeah, I do know you." But it's good. I mean, miss my grandkids. They live here. We haven't seen them. We did a FaceTime with them just recently, but we'll get together hopefully this weekend or so. But it's just been good. I've been working on the portrait, and you know,
Yeah. And are those, can I ask, and this is going to drive the people that are just listening to this as opposed to watching it, but the the paintings on the wall behind you, are they your paintings or are they other people's paintings?
now there are other people that, in fact, this one here, I'll do my best.
Oh yeah.
Vanna, Vanna White. Where is it? Oh, there it is.
It's always confusing with the mirror, the movie.
It's an Angel. We bought that down in Burleson, I think it was, or Grand, I don't know, Granbury or somewhere. But we bought that. So my paintings are on the fourth floor. We have a four-story townhouse, and the fourth floor is we have an elevator also because I'm too old to walk 4 stories. But we have a hallway that has all my painting drawings and a lot of memorabilia and stuff. So then we go out that door and there's a whole beautiful scene outside. That we're on the east side of downtown Fort Worth, so I can see downtown Fort Worth right now, looking out the kitchen window here on the second floor. But no, they're wonderful paintings, and then the one over here, that's a poster, one of those ancient posters, and uh, yeah, so. I have on the third floor. I have a drawing of Leah that I did. That she didn't really want to hang it in the house, but I insisted. So
You overruled that one.
yeah, yeah.
Excellent, Barry. Thank you. I always like to ask the question, kind of set the context around how your last week's been, because I think it's important that, particularly for guys that haven't really started to engage with their mental health and to try and realize that they might be struggling, it's really important, I think, that people understand that you can have been through some really difficult times, but there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And equally that even when you are kind of recovering from or dealing with your mental health, it's not linear. There will be
Right.
bumps along the way. And I think it's important that people understand that you are going to talk about very shortly, you're going to talk about some incredibly difficult experiences that you've had, but you're here today and you're telling the story. And for me, that is the signal of hope that I want anyone to take
Uh,
these
I mean,
moments.
it's yeah. I mean, my hope is even if it's one person out of the many that watch your podcast and hear your podcast, that something I'll say will help them understand, one, they're not alone. Uh, I don't know of anybody that hasn't gone through something. In my case, my depression it was diagnosed as clinical depression. So my brain doesn't make enough serotonin. And so I take an antidepressant daily, and been doing that since 1989. And, but, you know, I explain it like there are folks that, mental health it's hard for humans because mental health, you can't see it. You can't, there's no diagram or whatever. Like, let's say if you have high blood pressure
Mm.
and you have to take medicine for that, people gladly take it. But when it's mental health, they feel like, I think a lot of people feel like that's a crutch. And the way I explain it, when I was first hospitalized with depression, and they gave me my first antidepressant, man, it was like in 2 days. I was like, "Oh, glad to meet you, Barry." I had never felt that balanced. It was just it wasn't like a high or anything. It just, my worry, my that turmoil inside me was gone. I was lessened, let's put it that way. Now, I still had, bills I needed to pay, and I still had things that come up, and people, traffic cutting you off and all those things. It's not that I didn't get down or whatever, but I tell people the pain of depression, it's not a Tylenol pain. It's not a pain that you can just, that pill doesn't get rid. It lessens things. It evens it out, but you're not cured. I mean, I have to take the antidepressant. I remember when I first asked my psychiatrist in the hospital, I said, "How long will I have to take this?" She said, "Well, because your brain doesn't make the substance it needs, probably the rest of your life." I said, "Well, I didn't know anything about it." I said, "Well, you know, is this stuff that, is it too much? Is it good for my body and all that?" She said, "Oh yeah, you probably take it the rest of your life if you want." She said, "My suggestion is that you will want to, because that's what balances it out." So
Yeah. So let's jump into your mental health journey, and Barry. Obviously, you've mentioned a couple of things then about the length of time that you've been taking antidepressants for the first hospitalization. But I always say to people when I ask this question to kind of qualify it, start wherever you want to start and give us as many details as you feel comfortable giving. Um,
sure.
but where do you kind of trace your first kind of challenges around your mental health back to in your life?
Well, when I look at my mental health journey, it certainly, for me, it started uh, when I was working, like I said, for the Fortune 200 company, and they had an employee assistance program, and I didn't know what was going on with me, but I was just needing help. And so I went to a hospital and checked in. Um, that was the first time I knew I was diagnosed as with depression. Uh, Over the years, talking with different therapists and all diagnosis, it was determined that I was probably born with anxiety, pretty heavy anxiety, because when I start talking about me as a baby, even as a baby, I was, you're probably hearing a train in the background.
Well, that's what it was.
That's great. Yeah, I didn't melt or anything. So yeah, we live near a train track. The train goes downtown. Anyway, um, but as a baby, my mom said, I had to always have someone, and it was either her or my older brother George, and within my eyesight. And when she would be getting my bottle ready, my brother George, she could always tell when he was under the crib because he was hiding from me, and I would start crying and this and that. So, uh, you know, my separation anxiety was very prominent with me as a kid, as a baby. So that's where it started. Then, um, going through the various hospital stays and stuff. I was in the hospital, mental health hospital facility 3 times over after '89 through uh, 2006.
Hmm.
I mean 2016. Yeah,
Wow. So and if it's okay to ask,
sure.
what was the kind of the catalyst for you going in the because I know the third instance, which we'll talk about, but what was the catalyst for you being hospitalized the first and the second time?
Well, the first time was just my discover of this feeling I always had, even as a teenager, 20-year-old, and so forth, through my 20s and into my 30s. I just didn't feel right. I didn't feel, and so then the first time is when I went in, they did major testing and determined that I was clinically depression. My depression was clinical. Be like, they test you for heart disease or high blood pressure. So that's when I got on the antidepressant the first time. And then I started then in '89 is when I started taking it. The second time, it's funny, I don't remember exactly what year it was. And I went into over, I just fell off the wagon in terms of my feelings. And so I go in and up there, the first time I was there was 20 days.
Hmm.
And I remember asking my psychiatrist and my therapist, like, well, how did I get through this in that amount of time? Because I knew there were people there that were there when I got there and they were still there when I was leaving. And they both said that when I came in ready to do the work, you
Hmm.
know. And so I was very open and, you know, talked about whatever as many, went to all my meetings and, group therapies, individual therapies, occupational therapy, all the therapies that I needed. So 20 days I was ready to go back out into the world. The second time, um, the depression kind of got to the best of me and I needed to go back in. And I used to feel certain things around the holidays and Christmas. And so, the depression raised its ugly head and I needed to go back, get a tune up is what I call it. And I think I was in there for about 10 days that time. Came out and was doing good through that time period. And then my career changed, and me and my brother had started a gourmet sauce company, and that was going good for about 10 years. And then we ended up having to close it because our co-packer was doing a product for a bigger product, and then another big company bought that company. And so we ended up not being able to make our sauce there. We had three barbecue sauces, a wing sauce, and a dessert sauce. And so we ended up having to shut that down because we couldn't find someone. We looked across the country, but we couldn't find anybody to match the pricing we were getting. We had a great pricing. So we shut that down. And then I just started that decline, things in my head, like, things not feeling good enough for this or that. And so before the third hospital stay is when I tried to take my life. And so if you're ready to go there, I can get into that. And I tell people, when I meet people now, a lot of times I say, you should have never met me because June 3rd, 2016, I tried to take my life. So left the house and after Leah went to bed, and that day I had taken my mother-in-law uh, to the doctors. She lived with us, and she had a kind of an illness, and so I had taken her to the doctor. Asked her if she wanted to get her favorite Chinese food, and no one knew. And I didn't really know that I was going to do that. I felt like I would. And so I called a friend of mine and he knew my history and he said, why don't you try to go to a group therapy? Because there was a hospital in Arlington, Millwood, and uh, they had, if you had been a patient in their system, you could always go to any group therapies. So I go out there that day and um, when I get there to go to the group therapy that evening, it was canceled because it had been raining all day. And that was kind of the deciding factor for me. In fact, I took a picture of that. I took a picture of that sign on the window, on the door. And so when I came home, then Leah got home and she talked with her mom and, just went through our evening. And then I went downstairs. We lived in a two-story townhouse. I went downstairs to watch the NBA finals, and it was more watching me than me watching it. And so I had written goodbye letters that day to my two brothers and our son and Leah. And I emailed them that evening um, and sent our sons to my older brother. And so I left the house right after midnight when Leah had gone to bed about 10 o'clock, and I left the house. So when I left the house, went to a hotel room, a hotel near the house and checked in. And I left my iPad on my nightstand. So when I checked in, anything over $50, Chase Bank would send a text message. And so earlier when I checked in about 12:30, I guess Leah remembered hearing that beep later in the evening, later that night. And so when I checked in, I printed out the letters, read them, tore them up, flushed them, and I had taken all of my medicines with me, all my prescription medicines. And so I read about them. I had my iPhone, read about what I had and how much I needed to take my life, to end my life. And it was very, just, it wasn't nothing real dramatic. I was set on, I'm done. That's just how I felt. I was just tired. I felt, our son, like he was a man, and I just felt no one needs me now. I'm done. Leah will find someone, better, and so I counted the pill. It said take this many, take your life, or it will leave you with some sort of damage to your organs or whatever damage to. So when I read it, it said take this many. So I counted them out. I had 124 pills. And so that was enough to kill four people. So I took them all. And because I figured, if it's enough to kill four, I'm done. I'm definitely done. I'll just go to sleep and I'm gone. So I took them all, and my body started trying to make me, push them out of my stomach, tried to make me throw them up, and I kept pushing them down. I was just like, so I'm in bed and laying there in the bed, and I'm listening to, one of my favorite pieces of music on my iPhone and Schindler's List, the soundtrack, and turn the TV off, and I'm gone. And so I guess about 2 o'clock or so, Leah, she comes downstairs looking for me because she thought I was still downstairs working on something art wise. She doesn't see me, opens the garage, my car's gone. So then she remembered hearing uh, the message from our bank. And she went downstairs and, uh, she called she could see where I went, and she called the hotel to see if I was there, and they acknowledged that I was. And she said she was concerned about me, and then asked them to, you know, see what they could do in terms of me in the hotel room, and she did. They acknowledged, and she told them that they should go and um, call the police and paramedics and all. So that's what they did, and they got there. By the time they got there, I was out, and so they break into the room. Um, the guy from the office had come down, and when he checked to try to check on me, he couldn't get in the room because I had put the chain on the door, put a chair in front of the door, and so he had told Leah when he called her back about my condition. He said he could just hear me in there, and that's when she said call the police and all. So they did, and he did. So I go and they get there and take me to rush me to John Peter Smith Hospital. So they get me there. John Peter Smith Hospital here in Fort Worth is a trauma one hospital, one of the top hospitals in the nation. I get there. I'm out. I'm in a coma. Leah gets there, and they asked, after a while, they couldn't bring me out of it. They didn't necessarily know what I took, but because I didn't take the bottles, I didn't, I, I just put everything in like a Kleenex and carried me in that way. And part of the reason was because I remembered hearing about, as a kid, Marilyn Monroe, they found the bottles on her nightstand as to what she took, whether she did or whatever. But that's why I didn't take the bottles. Um, didn't want didn't want them to find out. So I'm in this coma for 3 days, and I think the second day they asked Leah, "Did I have a DNR document? Do not resuscitate. Do not resuscitate document." She said, "Yeah," and they said, "Well, you better get it because we're losing him." And blood pressure is 60/30. I'm dying. My organs are shutting down. And the third day, what I call God woke me up. And so they had really moved me into a room. I still had some, I still had a tube down my throat and different things, but I wasn't in the intensive care because they were losing me. And there was a really good friend of mine, Anthony. He was there in the room, and he's watching me, and all of a sudden, I guess my hand moved, and he saw that, and he starts talking to me, and he goes and gets Leah, and they come in, and I'm, I wake up, and I have no organ damage. I have nothing wrong with me in terms of physical. So for me, and again, this is just my belief that, I mean, there's no other explanation that I can come up with, or even the doctors could come up with, in terms of it was definitely God who saved my life. Because I look at it like if I took enough to kill one person and I survived it, well, it just wasn't this time. Two people, well, it really wasn't this time. Three people, you kind of go like, man, this dude must have been in like Olympic athlete shape or something. He must have been really healthy. Not that I was, but if you get to four, enough to kill four people, I don't have another answer. Not when you're in a trauma one hospital and they've said this is it. Uh, and so over the years, looking back, so that we have these things that's an app that has all my medical. So I literally went in and read all the reports and everything over those 3 days of what the doctors were saying, and I've studied it, I've read it. So it's not just something that a theory. It's like I can read the facts of what was being written by this team of doctors that was trying to pull me out of that. So, when I'm still here, then the way it works, I think in most places, especially the way it works here in Tarrant County, when you try to commit suicide, you lose all your rights to be able to make decisions for yourself. And you would think those rights would go to your family. But the way it works here, a judge, so John Peter Smith Hospital has a judge on call. And so the county takes over your affairs. And so they assigned a social worker, and they decided the social worker and the judge get together. And so that Sunday, when I came out of it, then they said Monday I would need to go to a mental facility hospital. So, and I knew I needed to. I mean, I wasn't, I was nowhere near ready to just go home, not with what I just done. So I was all set for that. And it shows you, just to show you how mental health, not that it's not taken seriously, but when the policeman was going to, they were going, I'm going to ride in a squad car to the facility, to the hospital. And so when I'm get all dressed and I got my bag and all, and I'm ready to go, the police officer, no fault of his own, it's just the way human beings look at it. And so he asked me, was I okay did I need to be handcuffed and put in the back? He said, you seem fine. And, you know, if you are, are you in danger of hurting yourself? I said, no. And he doesn't really know that. And it's not, I'm not saying, it's just, that's how it appeared. I didn't appear to be mentally ill, which I was.
Mm.
So he let me ride in the seat with him, and we talked, and he delivered me to the facility, and that was it. So I was there uh, for a week. Uh, and so the I got out the next Monday, but that Sunday before the next Monday, it shows you how mental health works, and people just can't necessarily understand it. So that Sunday morning, there was a patient there that got into a physical thing, and all the nurses and doctors, they try to corral him and get this thing. And I'm sitting back watching. And so one of the nurses comes over to me and she said, she's watching, and so whenever I go into a hospital, I always had Leah bring me my clothes and all, because I may be mentally ill, but I'm gonna try to dress and look good. And so when when I'm sitting there, then you probably hear a vacuum cleaner now. That's Leah getting ready for
Oh,
work
no, we're
upstairs.
good. We're good. We can't hear any vacuum cleaner.
Okay. So uh, I'm sitting there, and so one of the nurses comes over. She asked me, she said, "Can I ask you a question?" I said, "Sure." She said, "Can I ask you why you're here?" And I said, "Because I tried to take my life." I said, "Why, why do you think I'm here?" And so she said, "Well, I'm kind of embarrassed." She said, "Me and some of the other nurses, we were talking, and you just, you don't look like a patient. And so we didn't know if you were a plant here. There was a TV show here called Undercover Boss."
Oh my word.
And so she said, "We thought you were a plant from that TV show, Undercover Boss," which was a national show. And what it was, they would send like VP, a vice president, or even the CEO in, and they would, go into facilities or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
And I said, "No, I literally, told her my story. I said, "No, I'm here because I have an illness and I needed to be here." And so,
It's incredible that when you're in that environment, that somebody whose job it is to look after people who
mhm.
are dealing with mental health difficulties and trauma, that even they can't.
Well, like I said, I mean, again, and there were patients that they didn't think that, but just patients that they didn't understand because, like I said, this was my third time being in, but I remember, but how patients look. I mean, there are patients there that look hairy, that look, they're on medication. Some patients, they have to drug them and all to get them back to where they need to be or whatever. But, for me, it was like I comb my hair, I changed clothes, I dressed like I did outside there. Um, there were patients there that walk around in their robes or, pajamas all day. That's just not the way I treated it. I knew I had the illness, but for me, it didn't mean I had to look that way. At least, nothing wrong with that. Understand, but my look threw people off. And so the old saying, "You can't judge a book by its cover."
Yeah.
That that's really it. So, you know,
Wow. Can I ask? Um, and well, first of all, I just want to say thank you for being so generous and sharing that story, because I think that is going to land with people pretty profoundly. And it's so important that even though these things are difficult for people to hear and difficult for people to say, that they are made available, and people can hear them.
sure.
When and this is you're in a unique position here. I don't think I've ever spoken to somebody that has been through that.
A survivor.
Well, I have spoken to survivors on previous episodes, but the kind of the I guess the likelihood of you surviving that
Right.
is
You're,
is so. I guess my question is, it's slightly clumsy, but how does it feel to leave a hospital a week after you have decided to basically, I mean, I guess the phrase is you went belts and braces, right? You didn't just go one times, two times more than you needed. You went four times. That was it. And then a week later, you've got a nurse at the hospital saying, "Well, you don't really look like you should be here," and you're going home. What does that feel like when you're? How do you feel when you leave that place?
well, my first, it's funny when I came to in the hospital in the room, and Leah came in, and one of the first questions she had was, "Are you glad that you survived?" And my honest answer was no, because inside of me, I'm, let's say on this side of uh, consciousness, I have all these, feelings and hating myself and feeling, failure about the business and all that. And then on this side, I survived the middle and on this side, but I still feel like I still have all these things. But so my first answer was no. Now, once I get out, I remember when I can remember we were on the Lancaster Bridge and she's driving me home. And I'm thinking, like, I'm asking God, like, what am I supposed to do with this? I mean, again, my view about spirituality, whatever you want to call it, God, higher power, all these different. For me, it's God is a very real thing. It was real before that. I believed in God for everybody, except I didn't feel that, you know, I was good enough or whatever. So I asked him, like, what do you want me to do with this? And so over time, I thought, maybe I can help other people and go into a place here, hospital, be some sort of orderly or assistant or whatever. And then I meet a woman, friend of mine, friend of Leonard's, and introduces me to a woman who, her and her husband started a foundation because they lost their daughter, Jordan Elizabeth Harris Foundation. And so she heard my story. Um, they asked me to join, be a part of the board. So for me, I have to do this. It's like it's not like I'm being uh, beaten by. I mean, it's not. God gives us free will. We all have free will, whether you believe in God or not. We have a right to do what we want. But for me, the blessing of still being here, again, I don't need the Pope. I don't need a high religion. I don't need anybody to tell me why I'm here, what saved my life. Um, and so um, going from what I did and then having this nurse and having this police officer and no one understanding, for me, all those little things say, yeah, Barry, that's what God's telling me. Yeah, you got to talk about this. People don't really understand this, and people have fear of revealing. uh, as an example, uh, Leah's the president. She's been on the water board, Tarrant County Water Board here, and she's the when she ran for, it's a political office, not a big office, but a political office. So uh, when she was running, you know, there were people, supporters and all that, financial people, supporters and all that are going to help with her campaign. And so, we had to tell her campaign manager, he had to let those folks know what I had done, and so no one had a problem with it. But I always said to her campaign manager, if someone wants, not that this is a big position, it's an important position, but people in politics, if they want to win, they'll do anything.
Mm.
And so I said to her campaign manager and to her, I said, look, if someone wants to find, if they find out, it's not a secret, but if they find out and they want to use it against you, I will have the press conference. Uh, Not you guys, me. I'll speak to the press if they have questions about it. Because to me, anybody that cares about her, well, if you hear this, well, and you want to say, well, she shouldn't be, if you care about her, what does that have to do? the fact that I'm open about it, I tell people whatever. So no one did, and but that's the reality of the world we live in today. That someone could very well do that.
Mm.
Um, I remember when George McGovern was running for president, and I forget the vice president, but he had been in a mental hospital and he had to drop out of the race because the world wasn't ready to hear that. you know.
No. So June next year will be 10 years. How has your
What's
relation?
What's funny is I hadn't even thought of that.
Well, no, and I'm only thinking about it.
No, no,
I'm
just
thinking,
yeah.
but it will be 10 years since, but by your own kind of way you introduce people, you shouldn't have been here, right?
Right.
How has your mental health been in the period since? How have you felt? Have you continued to experience kind of the peaks and troughs, or has it leveled out at all for you from that kind of extreme low?
It's funny. I had one time when I was in a bad place, and that was about I hadn't. I guess the last hurdle was my codependency in terms of my relationship, my love, my marriage, my friendship with Leah, and I hit a point one day, and so um, she was here. We were together, and I don't know what it was, man, but I hit that point, and so we called my therapist, and we went together to see my therapist, and so she said to me, "You can't hold her hostage by saying you're going to take your life if you all don't stay together." And what was going on, it wasn't it just, I don't know, we were just in a spot, just in a bad spot. And it wasn't that she was going to leave me or that we were going to split, but just that anxiety,
Mm.
that separation anxiety came back. And so at that point, I had to make it. We go see my therapist, we talk, and she says, "Barry, you have a decision to make. You can't threaten her that you're going to take your life if she leaves you. It's just not the way, that's not love." And so I come to realize that. And I'm not a guy that, like, if I have an illness, physical illness, I'll go to the doctor. I'm not one of these guys, guys don't want to go to a doctor. Excuse me, I'll go to the doctor. I've had a knee problem. I had a neck problem with my uh, sixth and seventh vertebrae. They did surgery. So I'm not one that won't go to a doctor. So when we're sitting there and then after it, so, I'll continue to see my therapist and we talked about it, but that immediacy, I got it, and I say to people all the time, I mean, the person I am, uh, there's a lot of people, but Leah has helped me become who I am. Uh, the love, like she used to say, if you could see the person that everybody else sees, you'll love you. But she also told me early in our marriage, you can't love me more than you love yourself. And so it was like what I did with my mom. I put my mom on that pedestal, you know. And so the one of the things that no one no one knows, but it's not a secret because growing up, it happened and we talked about it to our family. But when I guess I was 13, 14, uh, our mom tried to commit suicide. So you would think I wouldn't try this because I know what that feels like. And with a with a wife and a son, why would I put them through that, our family? But that's how much the pain was. But my mom tried to commit suicide, shot herself in the head, but survived it and lived another 30 so years. And my mom had passed before my attempt. So it's funny. My mom used to always say, uh, I'm blessed to be here. I don't, I shouldn't even be here. So every day is a blessing for her. And the one thing I wish my mom was here. She passed in 99. I wish my mom was here so I could have that conversation with her that I know how you feel. I know exactly what that was about. And so, out of all of this, there's a lot of blessings that I've received, helping people doing this. I tell people, even to shape whatever the world's in, man, I'm so blessed to still be here. And anyway, so behind me, you'll probably hear Leah come down the steps because on, on her way out. But in fact, here, I'll show you. That's a portrait I did of her.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's all right. Bye, babe. There she goes.
Hi, Leah. That's,
It's
yeah.
off to slay the dragons. Here's what's funny. Here's what's funny. And when you think like God has no humor, okay, so they take me to John Peter Smith Hospital, Trauma One Hospital. Now, Leah, she was the CEO and president of United Way Tarrant County, and then last October, um, John Peter Smith Hospital Foundation hired her away. And so now she's the president of the foundation at the very hospital where my life was saved. So
Oh,
those doctors absolutely had something to do with it. But those doctors, I have a friend and he knew somebody at the hospital. I wrote a note, gave him permission to talk to one of the doctors about, you know, what is this? I mean, was this something outside of you all's control? In essence, was this some religious, spiritual, happening? And the doctor said, "Yeah, that's all we can come up with in terms of why Barry's still here." So
wow.
for me, man, it's just like every day, every say, I can be sitting at a traffic light. I can be just standing in line at Target or Walmart, and God will say, that person in front of you should hear your 30-second story because they're not having a good day. And I'll tap them on the shoulder. I say, you don't know me, but you should have never met me. I don't know what you're going through, but I tried to take my life, and whatever you're going through, God saved my life. And I'm just here to tell you, man, it ain't as bad as you may think it is, but you know, that's just it. I mean, I'm blessed. That's all I can say.
It's
And
it's an incredible experience that you had, and I'm I'm so I feel so privileged that you've
well,
been able to tell it here. This is going to help other people. 1,000,000%. This is going to help other people.
I hope so. And I know you're all the way across the pond, but anybody, and I tell people all the time, if you need me to talk to anybody, if you got calls or if you got a text or email or something about this, I would easily, I'm not a doctor. I am not a doctor. So first, like here in the States, when you call a doctor's office, just the answering thing says, if you're in a if you're in a stressful whatever, call 911, because even the doctors don't want you to leave a message saying blah blah blah. So I would tell anybody, but I'll talk to anybody. My thing is to try to get people to understand mental health, mental illness is no different. It's
Mm.
just an illness. And the on the Jordan Elizabeth Harris Foundation, we have a thing that we bring in different doctors and psychiatrists and health people, and we do it every year. And so I talked to some of them at a dinner we have the day before they have the conference. And I said, look, I'm a survey of one, but what I believe is that mental health has a pain associated with it that you can't explain how much that pain, how it hurts. It's not like cutting your finger or cutting, it's a pain that you want to stop. And for me, and I think for millions of other people, the only answer that I knew was to end my life is the only way to stop it. Now I know on this side what I'm being told by my maker, by what saved me was no. And I said in the video that you saw when I had the keynote speech was the one thing I didn't do was tell somebody. Always tell somebody you're struggling, what's going on. Just tell somebody, talk to somebody. I don't care if you just have to walk in a hospital or, but tell someone that will take that serious. And those who do not suffer from uh, clinical depression or real depression, not like I'm having a bad day kind of thing, but like when you get to the point of you wanting to end your life because that's a pain that you can't stop, someone can help you. And I try to tell people, don't do what I did. Not everybody's going to have the fortune that I did. For whatever reason, God kept me here. I think He kept me here to tell this message, to tell His story, my story. It's not about me. I'm just the conduit. I'm just the one that was chosen to do this. But to be open, that's what I'm supposed to do.
Mm.
Be open to show people that people care. And I've told my story unprompted. I was in a church and Liz part of an organization, the Links, and all the women and husbands. We were at a church. One of the members' husband is the pastor. So he said, "Anybody got anything they want to share or whatever?" And I went down. And God was like, it was like He was lifting me out of my seat to go down and tell what I'm thankful for and what I'd been through. And so my thing is, you can take this and put it on the front of the Star Telegram. You can't hurt me with this. You can't. It's not that I'm courageous. Just if you care about me, what's your point?
Mm.
Because I'm telling it anyway. So you can't use this against me. It's very open, and for us who know, study the Bible, it's things are done in darkness. Well, I was in darkness, but when I come into the light, I mean, I'm here to tell my story, and now that I have the blessing of being able to tell it across the pond,
Mm.
man, it's weird.
It,
It's. I
it's
mean, it's like I sent the video, my keynote to Derek. Derek shares it with his friend. His friend reaches out to you. So, I mean, it's a phenomenon that's greater than all of us. We all have a role here. I've met you, and like I said to you on our, introductory call, Leah and I, we've been talking about coming to England, and so, I know we're gonna break bread together. I don't have any doubt. If I get there, That goes without saying. So,
And that would be, yeah, that's
yeah,
amazing. That would be amazing to do that. And I just wanted to pick up on something that you said earlier, Barry, because I'm conscious that people who know you but don't know Good Enough Chats will be listening to this conversation. This will be the first episode that they would have
sure,
heard of the podcast. And I
sure,
think you said, you're not a doctor. I want to stress as well
right,
that the purpose of this, I am not an expert either. I'm not a trained therapist, psychologist, psychiatrist.
so,
This whole thing is born out of a realization I had when I was going through my own difficulties about how important it could have been for me to have heard other guys who I could relate to talking about things that they'd
right,
been through, what they'd learned along the way. So this entire podcast, every single one of the conversations that is published on it, is not done from a position of expertise. It's done from a position of experience. So that person,
yeah,
whatever they have experienced, they are telling their truth, and they are doing that in an open and honest and very powerful and unfiltered way. And regardless of where somebody's experiences have taken them, and obviously your experiences took you right to the darkest of places. Some of the other
right,
guests that we've had on the conversation on the podcast, their experiences have been sort of more sort of rumbling, low level challenges with mental health, but they've been sort of long term chronic concerns.
sure,
So right across the spectrum of challenges that people have had, whether it's clinical depression, whether it's anxiety, whether it's burnout, whether it's neurodiversity, all of the stories matter, because
right,
it just takes one person to hear it and realize that there are positive things that they can do to take themselves forward in their own circumstances in a constructive way. That's it,
right,
right? That is it. And if every episode that we put out does that, and also helps me to get a future guest, that's it.
right,
That's purpose delivered. So we can say that John, who you've not met, who I met for the first time
right,
yesterday, who was the first guy in this season, has absolutely delivered. He's delivered the next guest, and he's delivered his own powerful story as well. And yeah, to him and to you, I am really, really grateful. I've got two questions, and I think you've sort of touched on both of these already, but I want to ask them anyway because there are often other things that come to mind, right? So
mm-hmm,
the first is I ask guests if they can identify some light bulb moments during their entire kind of mental health journey where you've realized that there are things that you need to start doing to help yourself, or there are things that you need to stop doing to help yourself. Are there any examples that kind of spring to mind for you in either of those categories?
yeah. I would say that I'll start with the stop doing first, and that is stop feeling like I'm in this all alone, and stop feeling that if I tell someone, and again, you got to remember, we as a family, me and my brother, two brothers, George and Daryl, went through this with my mom. But don't let that negativity or whatever you want to call it keep you from telling someone where you're at. I believe we have to be open. Find that person, find your person, find that person that you know I can tell anything to. I can, get get that kind of commitment from that person that, man, woman, I need you. I need to be able to, because I have an illness. Don't run from saying I have an illness. Like I said, no one runs from saying I have high blood pressure or I have heart disease or I mean, like I guess about 5 years ago, all of a sudden, I'm allergic to shrimp and wheat. So I break out in hives. So we go to a friend. Yeah, so I can't like eat pizza. We were at a party. I ate pizza. I had to go out in the car and put, take Benadryl.
That would be
I
so
wasn't
disappointing to suddenly learn that you can't eat pizza.
right. And so, but all my friends know it. I'm not afraid to tell someone, oh, I can't have shrimp because I'm allergic to it. Well, then I'm not afraid that if I'm in a mental unhealthy place, that I'm gonna say, hey, hey, Anthony, my friend Anthony, who was sitting bedside, are my brothers. And what's funny, so that day, for me, it was like this. I don't want to call it a perfect storm, but I tried to reach my older brother. He was a headmaster. And then in June, he's going through graduation, getting ready for commencement and all of that. So I called him that morning. He doesn't answer. I don't leave a message, though. I called my younger brother, Daryl, in Phoenix. He has a food truck. He's doing that. He doesn't answer. So then I called my friend and he says, go out and go to the group therapy. So I do that, but there's a sign that says
Oh,
canceled because of rain. I should have went the next step. I should have said something to someone else. But for me, three strikes, I'm out, I'm done. And that's where the pain gives me the justification to take the step that I took to end my life. Now, let me just say this. I tell people, anyone trying to take their life, people say they're weak. No, they're pretty strong, but take that strength and move it into getting help, telling someone. Be strong enough to say, I know I can trust this person. Hey, I'm struggling. I need some help. Same as you would do if you're having a heart attack, you want someone to take those things and hit you and the paddles and bring you back. So if you're having that heart attack, mental attack, then get someone, have that person, man. Have your person, your people.
I think it's really interesting what you say because you're right. I think that the challenge with mental health is that when you're in that moment, you just don't feel like you have the words. And also, the example that you've just given where you tried multiple times to engage with people and for whatever reason they weren't there or wasn't available, it didn't work. When you're already feeling so bad, and then that's
Right.
effectively that's three strikes, isn't it? That you've just had, and
But three strikes is a myth. Go to four. You get as many strikes as you want because
yeah.
this is not ball. You
I,
get
I,
as
I
many strikes.
completely, yeah, I completely understand what you're saying. I guess what I'm trying to acknowledge is that if you are already right at the bottom and you find the strength to
Oh
ask
yeah.
once, doesn't work, twice doesn't work, three times doesn't work. That's that. Uh, that is. It's not hard to see why the next step was what you did. But I hear what you're
Right.
saying.
But
You just keep asking. Just
change the rules. This is not baseball. You're not three strikes and you're out. That's some bull crap myth. You get as many strikes. As long as you have breath in your body, keep asking. I don't care if you have to go and walk into a hospital, whatever you have to do not do what I did, which was stop,
Yeah.
continue, and get the help you need and stay on that help. And trust me, there's someone that will understand. They may not understand what you're feeling, but they care about you enough to say, oh, yeah, I'm going to be there for you. My friends, look, everybody who knows, they can ask me at any time, how's your mental health? It's going good. Or, you know, if I'm not having a good day, I can call my sister-in-law, I can call my brothers. I'm very open. And the more that I've been open, the less issues I have.
Yes. Yeah.
Because the strange thing about depression is if you keep it in secret, it will eat you alive.
Yeah.
It won't, put it in the light. Like I said, this ask me, is there anyone that I would not tell my story to? No. So there's no human being on this earth anywhere that can hurt me with it. None. Zero. What can hurt me is keeping it from anybody.
Yeah.
I don't care. I mean, there's Leah and I, we were in Italy last year in October and going to the Vatican and all, man. I didn't feel a need to knock on the Pope's door and say, "Hey, Pope, I need some help." But if I did, I would have. I will ask anybody if I need help. I will. I know that now. That myth of like Leah can find someone better. No, she can't. She'll find someone different,
Yeah.
but she's not going to find anybody better than me. Not that it's about me, but it's about what my maker has made me into, what she's made me into, what all these people that pour into me, that care about me, have poured into me. So why would I waste that on trying to end it before whatever God or whoever says, okay, life's over. Now it's over. I will never, and she's asked me on more, she'll check, like, you think you'd ever do that again? There's no way. Just no. No, I know. I know what bottom is. And even the bottom that I hit, there's no bottom under that bottom. It's just empty. It'd be fall out and you just fall. There's nothing deeper than what I was in. I mean, I tried to take my life, and I'm here to talk about that. Man, that's, but as big as that is, it's only big if I share it.
Yes.
Imagine, imagine everything I've said, because here's what would happen. Here's my belief. If I do not talk about this, then it becomes a secret.
Mm.
If I don't talk about it, it's a secret. If it's a secret, what does that mean? That means I have shame. I have zero shame about trying to take my life. So I'm lucky, I'm fortunate, I'm blessed, or whatever you want to say. But man, I'll tell anybody. I'll tell anybody. I'll tell people because I want people to understand, man, you can survive this. You can get past it. There's just ways, but don't do what I did. Don't, because I'm telling you, when I took those 124 pills, I wasn't thinking like, oh yeah, God's gonna say. No, I was done. I was finished. And I was. It was a drama. I didn't hear harks and people asked me, "Well, did you see it?" No, no, I was done, man. But I was okay with it, man. I was just done. I was so tired, and the energy I have is 180-degree difference.
Mm.
I am so happy. Oh, it's a blessing. My blessing. So out of my blessing, I just want other people to, whatever you believe. It's like I'm not. Who am I to say? Oh, you have to believe in God and God. I don't know what you, man. That's out of my zip code. That's out of my pay grade. I have no idea because for me, all of that is about faith anyway. No one knows. No one knows what happens when you die. No one knows. I have faith, but because you don't have the same faith that I have, so I would say, well, I won't talk to you. That's just like, we could learn something if we watch kids in kindergarten. Like kids in kindergarten, when they got a ball and one takes the ball, and it's like, I don't like Tommy. Why don't you like Tommy? Because he wouldn't let me play with his ball. They don't, but then you watch the next day they're playing with the ball. But adults could learn something, man. It's like I don't. You don't have to be. You don't have to be male, black, American. I don't care what you are. I'll talk to anybody. I'll get an interpreter. If I don't speak your language, man, we can have this conversation if you're needing some help, and I can help you. So
I
that's what I at the end of this that your viewers will go like, man, it's not about me. Don't go like, oh, Barry's so no. But getting past your feelings of wanting to take your life or feeling embarrassed about being depressed. You're not embarrassed if you have high blood pressure. You take that pill every morning and go about your day. And that's what I do. You know.
I didn't think that I would end this conversation smiling, but I am because you can the energy that you have for this is just it's flying across the Atlantic right now. So here,
Well, I hope
I feel
like
pumped.
man, like I said, when you think that you should not be here, I could not be. All the things I got to see, two grandsons born. I got to see my son. Uh, I mean, I've gotten to see so many things that in my hands I should have never witnessed.
Yeah.
Talking to you. And so, like yesterday, Lee and I went to a friend of ours. They had a memorial for him. I think he was in his 80s when he passed. But I'm sitting there and I'm like, God, I am so fortunate. And he was fortunate. His life ended on God's terms or whenever, with his maker, or whatever. My life will end when it's time for it to end. But it sure in the hell won't end when I try to make it end because I ain't going there. And so, like, man, I am so happy to be here. I mean, yeah, it's like there are so many people that I could hug. I mean, I tell people all the time. I tell people I love them all the time. I mean, we went to a friend's birthday party Saturday, and everybody's leaving. And, hey man, I love you, man. I love you, and I mean that. I get to love people. I don't, we met each other what a couple of weeks ago. I love you, man. It's like I have to. That's what the world needs, and genuinely, I don't know. I don't know I don't know, but what I do know is you're a good person. You're a good guy, and as I said in the essay that I sent you, I'm Barry, you're Dan, and that's the only thing that where we meet. I don't know any, but I love hearing about people's families and your heritage, and I love hearing that. But that's not where I live. I don't live in my being a black person. I don't live in being a male. I don't live in being American. I don't live in being part of the King family. I only live as Barry. That's the only place. That's where my maker, God, will meet me at. Because he's not going to pick my family over yours. He's not. He doesn't want us to use those other four things or whatever else we become. Father, husband, blah blah blah. He only is going to deal with Barry, and that I learned that from my mom when I was about 13, 12, 13. So man, if we could stay out of those other four and those other things, like you know, I'm just Barry. That's it, man. So hopefully your folks have gotten something out of this.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
they will have done, Barry. And
oh,
before I wrap it up, final
sure,
question,
sure.
and I think you've been very sort of clear about the direction I think this is going to go in. But the final question is: somebody hears this and they are experiencing similar feelings, but they haven't yet got to the point of making that very final decision, right? What, based on your experience, is the most important thing that that person can do?
The most important thing that that person can do is whatever the next decision. Nothing else matters, only the next decision that they're about to make. And no one can make that decision for you. So make it be the right decision. And for me, the right decision is to ask someone for help. Nothing more. Just that's the next decision is the only decision that matters.
And that,
No,
I think, is
and I don't care if you can be the richest person or the poorest person. You can be the most beautiful person or the ugliest person. You can be the tallest person or the short. It doesn't matter. Make sure that the next decision is the only decision that matters. And to me, I hope and pray that that next decision is to reach out to someone. Do it. Do it. I mean, what's the alternative?
yeah.
My alternative, I would have never met you. And that would be a shame. That would be horrible. That if I never met Dan, that'd be. I mean, as I say to Ellen and Tom, Jordan, Elizabeth Harris's parents, the one thing that hurts me is that I never got to meet Jordan. That's what hurts me.
Mm.
But yeah, just not the next decision. If you're in a place that you're thinking about doing something to yourself, and I won't even say like, well, for your kids or your wife or your family. No, no, for you, the next decision you make for you is the most important decision you'll make. And I pray to God that you make the decision to live.
Thank you, Barry. I think that is the perfect um, way to end this conversation. It's been full of hope. It has been deeply moving, profoundly moving. But most of all, as I said earlier, I know that this is going to help someone else. And we may never meet that person. We may never
Uh,
know.
I don't, yeah, that's not the important. It ain't about me and you. It's just about the information that we can put out here in the stratosphere. And hopefully, no one has to. I, that's what I mean, I don't sell this information. I mean, I'm supposed to give it. It's free. It's like, that's why I'm here
Yeah.
to help. That's all.
And it
So,
yeah. And it's so important, Barry. Um, thank you for doing this. I really, really appreciate it.
I thank you for creating this place for us, especially for us guys, to be, people like to call it vulnerable. Whatever they want to call it. I'm a marketing guy, but I don't put marketing terms on it. We just care about each other. So man, can't believe I have a friend in London, in England. So, but
do, and this guy needs to know when you're coming over. And I'm pretty sure that John, who you've not met, you've got to meet John as well at the same time.
We'll go have a pint, as you all say it.
And some fish and chips. And fantastic. Thank you, Barry. So
let's stay in touch, and
we absolutely will. And to our listeners and viewers, thank you for joining us for this conversation. I hope you have found it as insightful and as useful and reaffirming as I certainly have. If you have, we would really appreciate it if you could share this across your social media channels, with your friends, with your family, especially if you know somebody who you feel really needs to hear this, because that's when this kind of conversation can really make a difference to somebody. If you're listening to this on the podcasting platforms, if you're listening to it on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, something that would be incredibly helpful for us is to get some reviews. So the more reviews, the better. You can say, by all accounts, whatever you like. It's the star rating that matters. So if you were kind enough to give us a 5-star rating for the podcast, that will help to get this in front of more people still. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, Barry. I'm really looking forward to seeing some of the feedback from this come through, and I know that this is going to resonate with people. And for our audience, we will be back again very soon with another episode of Good Enough Chats. Please subscribe wherever you find us, and we'll talk again soon. Cheers.